allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda. Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the April 14th, 2025 Board of Education consent agenda. Is there any further discussion?
Hood,
Yes.
Apple,
Yes.
Bose,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Studeville,
Yes.
and Tisdale,
Yes.
Goodman. Yes. Motion passed.
Okay. 3.0 patron input.
Oops.
Sorry.
Jenny? Okay, the board appreciates patrons taking time to talk to us about our policies and procedures. We set aside this time to hear from the public. This is not an appropriate time or place for persons to make positive or negative comments that would violate the privacy rights of district students or staff members. Persons making such comments which violate student or staff privacy rights will be asked to terminate their remarks. If a person has a complaint, the board will refer that person to the appropriate staff member or complaint procedure for follow-up. Thanks again for taking your time to discuss district business with the board. And first up is Elise Boviard. Go ahead.
Hi, school board members. My name is Elise Beauvais, and I come here today to ask you for help. I, an LMS gifted student, have recently been informed that my gifted educational service might and likely will be reduced. As a gifted student, I have grown up in the program, being identified at third grade. My memories of the early days with the program aren't the clearest. It was third grade after all. But I do remember being understood for once, challenged, allowed to use the side of my mind that had been ignored for years. I was able to compare how plants grew with being fertilized with fish droppings compared to without in third grade. I went into vape all by myself in fourth, and in fifth I was able to create my own imaginary nation with an entire thought-out government system. All of these might just sound like fun activities, but in reality of the gifted mind is that we rely on these little actions of release for ourselves. As I grew with the program, my mind did too. It turned from a place of enjoyment and challenge to somewhere I truly relied on. Middle school didn't come easy at first, but gifted was always there for me. If I had a hard day, I could let my worries disappear with a puzzle. If I was struggling to connect with my classmates, the other gifted students were there for me. But mostly, I was able to be challenged in a way the classroom simply could not. The normal middle school curriculum is simply not enough for gifted students. That's the line that separates gifted students from high achievers. Due to lack of challenge, the gifted brain does strange things, including causing anxiety, depression, and disassociation. Now, if gifted education is going to be cut down, these effects will skyrocket in students. With one gifted teacher in the district, it is likely gifted wildcat time will be removed from the middle school. If a gifted student actually wants to get services, they will have to take Quest, the gifted elective. If they choose not to, only services will happen once a month. Gifted is more important than just an elective class with a single teacher teaching it. And I fear if these cuts come, more students will slip through the cracks. I ask that you please reconsider this decision and save the gifted program. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next, Emily Bohard.
I want to first begin by acknowledging that my husband is the gifted education teacher in the district, or one of them. But I want to be very clear. I'm not here to advocate for his position or his job. I'm here tonight as a parent, the mother of a gifted student with an IEP, because I've seen firsthand what this program has done for my daughter, and I'm deeply concerned about what will be lost if it's cut. I want to address the proposed reduction to the gifted program, specifically the cut to the half-time elementary gifted position. This may not be called an elimination of the program, but let's be honest about what this change means. Reducing gifting staffing to one person for all of K through 12 would severely limit the program's ability to meet the students' needs. It may still exist on paper, but it will no longer function in a meaningful or effective way. Gifted education isn't a luxury, it's a service. and in many cases, a legal requirement through IEPs. It's designed to support students who learn and think differently and whose academic and emotional development requires something beyond what the general classroom can provide. Without adequate support, those students will fall through the cracks. One person simply cannot serve every student across all grade levels and buildings, not effectively. We can't meet IEP goals or maintain the integrity of the program when it's stretched that thin. At the last board meeting, it was said that any program eliminations would be discussed across multiple meetings. But what's being proposed now, cutting the elementary gifted position and leaving one person to serve all of K through 12, is an elimination. Maybe not in name, but certainly in function. And yet we're facing a decision that could dismantle the program without the extended conversation that was promised. If the board truly intended to consider program changes carefully, I'm asking you to honor that promise now. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Heidi Maggio.
Hello, Board. Dr. Bierman. Rick and I read the amended JCAC policy, and we are very encouraged by the progress that has been made, and we thank you very much for working hard on it and allowing conversation with the public and with us. It is not perfect, but we do not live in a perfect world, and we are very thankful that moving forward, students and staff will be more protected by it, more informed by it, and just have a better understanding of how to move forward. So thank you very much. We appreciate it. My second thing I wanted to address was STARS. We love the STARS program, and this board has done an amazing job of supporting STARS, the VOTEC program, and all that goes with that. It is a huge benefit. I was hoping there would be more middle school parents here, because if your kid is struggling academically and they have another path besides college bound, STARS is an amazing way for those kids to find success and to find a community academically and socially. And so thank you for backing that. Thank you for continuing to improve it. And just thank you for the work that we've done together. I just appreciate that you have prioritized it. It has been a long, not easy road for our family. And I can imagine for all of us, and there's still room to grow, but I just appreciate that you have put so much time in it, and just that we're learning moving forward that policy needs to protect kids first and foremost. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. 4.0, discussion. 4.1, review of Vision 2025 strategic plan with LMS stakeholders.
Well, as we know, the last two times we were at the high school, Rockville 2 months ago and then Broadmoor, and we moved back here. Several reasons, but one, obviously, so we could be in here with all our equipment live streamed and not going out in the commons. And we just didn't also have a big group attend as well, and so we thought we could do it out here. If we would have had a larger LMS group tonight, we had 3 classrooms set up down in the preschool. You would have had big boy and girl chairs. You wouldn't have to set in the little ones. But my recommendation, we have 2 teachers. We do have middle school parents, but if we just stay in here, but if we want to go down there, that's fine. Obviously, both admin from the middle school as well, but I think we're looking at 6 stakeholders out in the audience. So whatever you guys want to do.
I'm fine with just staying in here.
I agree. Doesn't seem like
You guys
there's
good
enough people to break up.
But if the LMS stakeholders want to come up in the front row, or even scoot your chairs up, that'd be great. And I have copies of the strategic plan. So come on up. Yeah, pull these up. We're going to improvise. I'm not saying that makes it official. One second.
Keep working. Keep them up here.
Okay, so we have 5.
Maybe, I guess we could. muting the microphone. I don't know, just there's a lot of talk.
Well, what's been asked over here, we could tell so the last two meetings obviously went out in the commons, and so it was not live stream. We're still live. What they were asking, do we keep this live or do we tell the public?
Yeah, we can have it live.
Okay, they were gonna say so. Okay. So, sounds good. So, yeah, since we're together, take it away.
Who wants, anybody else want to lead? Somebody else can. Huh?
You're the guy in charge.
Now, Joanne, why don't you lead it?
No, that's not.
That'd be a good job for you.
Just why don't you start?
Okay. Because I've never really followed this verbatim, but I guess here's the. So I think everybody knows everybody around here. I don't know if we need to do any introductions, do we? Okay.
Well, I'll just say
Okay,
so.
yeah, go ahead, Brian. You lead this. You're better at this than me.
So, when I arrived in 2014, the district did not have what I would call a strategic plan. We had a long mission statement and vision, and so we worked together with the board, eventually approved the one you see in front of you in April of 2018. When we approved in 2018, we thought 2025 was a long ways away, but here we are. And so just brought it in front of the board. The board wanted internal and external stakeholder improvement. We don't know at this time what this will look like, but obviously we'll have the high school next month, and then the board has taken notes from Rockville and Broadmoor, and tonight, and that next night, and next month, May 12th, and then we'll put it together. And what we kind of gathered is, a lot of things I assume will stay, whether it's in this format or not, but there's been some good comments on some different of the 5 goals, which are listed up there, and the core beliefs as we've met. So the board's just really interested. And you guys all have a copy. We just kind of start from the top and go down. But as Jim says, it can popcorn around too. If Tiffany wants to jump to facilities, we'll jump there, or whatever the case might be. So really, it was just a opportunity for stakeholders, internal and external, to have feedback as the board puts a new strategic plan together. And
I'll say that at my table last week, or last month, we had some really good discussion. And we talked about, like Brian said, the original vision, was it the mission statement or the vision statement that was really
the
wordy?
mission statement was real long.
And we looked at the core beliefs, and we kind of said, maybe those are a little wordy too, and maybe somewhat redundant. So, there can be some, maybe some merging of some of this stuff. But, obviously things have changed since, what was it, 2018, when this was drawn up. We're 7 years down the road. So we want the teachers' input, and we want the public's input of what you guys want moving forward.
I would agree with you the last 2 times that it seemed like maybe streamlining would be, was kind of collectively with some of the other
I
parents.
think there were like 3 or 4 of them that we felt like could combine.
Yes.
And condense it. I think it was, what was it, 4 or 5 total, maybe even, Jen?
Yeah, something like that,
Yeah,
maybe
on the
like
core
5.
beliefs.
8 seems like a lot of core beliefs.
Have we decided on like our destination? Last time it was 7 years, which seems a little bit short I was thinking like 2035, or like to have when we're gonna, like, what are we projecting to? And that might help shape like some
That's a
of the
good point.
ideas.
10 years doesn't sound like a bad.
And why we did 2025 last time, and Lanny would have been, I don't know, Rob, if you were on here yet, it was kind of in the middle of those 5, so we didn't want to just do a 2020, so we chose 7 years, but, that's really gets into the vision statement. Mission statement's what the organization believes in. A vision is where you want to take the organization during that time frame. So, and that might still be the vision statement to 2035 or whatever. And we don't have to call it Vision 35. It can be called Wildcat something. Or what is common with a lot of districts, especially it seems like a lot to the north, is they like, you could pull up Olathe, for example, and others up there. They call it Portrait of the Graduate, but it is their strategic plan. So really what they're saying, and if you want to pull up some of those districts, you could see those. But really so if you take Olathe, they have the 5 high schools, but they're really trying to, their strategic plan is when a kid graduates from Olathe East, Olathe West, wherever, what is their portrait? So if we did a portrait of Wildcat or whatever the case may be. But that seems to be a common theme is what some districts are doing, is painting that picture, that portrait of when they walk across the stage, what skills, what has the district provided them. Not that we have to do that, but that seems to kind of be a little theme as well.
Teachers, you guys got any input on this?
I don't know, I was just looking at your 8 core beliefs there, and I too see where you could probably combine a few of those to kind of narrow it down. It seems like that's quite a few. I mean, you want to go short but mighty, I think.
You have examples of the ones you were thinking about merging together?
The one that I can think of just off the top of my head would be the provide a sound education and ensuring each student is supported. I think those were 2 that we thought could be combined.
Yeah, I think develop a love and respect for our nation and develop a global appreciation and awareness that could be combined.
I think that develop honesty, integrity, and teach students to respect themselves. Those kind of seem
Yeah.
like those could all kind of go together too. You know, not that we have to stick with this language necessarily, but these are great core beliefs, but maybe we merge them to be 4 or 5 instead of 8. Something. Is there anything that's not in there that feels like it should be? That would be a question.
When we were looking for districts, we knew we wanted a rural district, and we combed through district websites. And this is actually one of the reasons why we chose Louisburg, was because of the core beliefs. Yeah, they are, like, there can be some that are condensed, but just to know, like, that's what captures the intention and the heart of the district.
Sure.
It's very well stated and very attractive.
So
It really held up well.
something like this versus like the portrait of a graduate that people.
I do like the portrait of the graduate just because it personalizes it. Like, you can see your own kid in that, and just instead of it being more of a formal statement, more like this fits your kid and this is how we fit your kid. I don't know. Does that make any sense?
I mean, you're the first, which I appreciate, because it took a lot of work to do the last one and with this one, that you're the first parent that's ever said that, Heidi, that you actually came here because of that. So it's like, well, at least one person, so thank you.
We appreciate that today.
No, that's I've never heard that, so.
Well, I would think that a lot of people, when they are looking to relocate, that one of the, especially if they have a family, and especially a young family, the first thing that they're going to do is check out the school district. They're going to go on the webpage and do some research, and having something or document like this, like Heidi said, is I think it helps a lot, and it kind of shows what our school system's about.
Well, and I can attest to, like, we came here at kind of an awkward time, and at the end of first quarter, and to tour the buildings, like for the administrators for us to have the kids tour the buildings, like everybody dropped what they were doing, and really made us feel at home. And so we just saw a lot of alignment with those core beliefs, and so that was a huge deal for us.
Is there anything that's missing? Or any words that you think are important?
I was thinking about something about like community, like our local community.
I think we talked about that in one of them.
Did we? Maybe
Yeah.
that's why.
Yeah.
Maybe that's
I
why
had
it's
written down
in
something.
there. I would think communities down here, but just in our core beliefs about. I don't know exactly what, but
Engaging our community or
something,
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah. And I guess I can be a middle school parent and a school board member.
Yeah.
I think that you could put a couple of these together and add the word community by going develop honesty and integrity while developing a love and respect for our nation and community.
Yeah, I think that's,
Yeah.
Community and nation. Yes.
Says the ELA teacher.
I was gonna say, we got,
Can you repeat that real quick? And
in the group that Rob and I were in last time, I can't remember how we came about this, but it seemed like there was quite a bit of discussion about where students would feel welcome, or, you know, that they would feel welcome and valued as part of the student body. I don't know if that could go in the mission statement to educate each student in a safe and nurturing environment where each student feels valued and welcome.
Could that maybe go in about where teach students to respect themselves
I was
and
thinking
others?
that.
I think so, yeah.
I just know the last time that mission statement, so you could read it and it didn't even make sense because it was just too much in there. Yeah, too wordy.
It's about a paragraph long, and
Yeah.
like you've heard me say, Nike has the best mission statement, just do it. You don't forget that. And so you want a short, concise mission statement that tells people and staff that work for you, this is what we believe in.
I think the other thing we talked about, a sound education.
It's in there.
Yeah, but I don't know what that means.
Oh, to define this sound.
I
Yeah.
wonder though, if you put provide a sound education and ensure each student is supported, that last one, if you somehow put those together, does that maybe help explain it a little better, I think?
Well, maybe you
Or-
combine the provide sound education with the provide a wide range of educational
Yeah.
programs and experiences, because it kind of goes hand in
Yeah.
hand.
Yeah, I think you could just take
Yeah.
out. some
But what
education,
does
just-
a sound education mean?
Well, it's open to
Wide
interpretation, I
range of
guess.
Educational programs and experiences.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it just like to me, it looks like it's kind of a filler word.
Right.
I don't think we're saying anything.
Kind of redundant
I
to
mean,
the
it's-
others too.
Yeah, moving into the one right below it, I mean,
Mhm.
basically the one, I mean, obviously, I mean, as Heidi spoke tonight, you know, about the stars, we've been expanding, you know, the variety of programs that we offer. And so, you know, we have kids that are going to go to college. We have kids that want to go into the workforce, so we have to be able to educate all of them. So, you know, I'm proud of that program that we have, and I think it's an excellent program.
You probably just scratch sound education.
I think so, yeah. What about the columns down below, the academics community? Is there anything in there that people see like in the target areas or in the goals that anybody thinks that, you know, needs to be added or struck? Or
One thing, oh, good. One thing we talked about is just kind of like self-evaluation down there. Like, are we, like, these are our goals for 2025. Are we doing those? And if we are doing those, do we need to keep them in and or add to them? So maybe it might help fill those columns if we want to keep, you know, these
Right.
5 columns that hit the target areas. And so we were, you know, some of the things we did were like, are we doing it, providing a relevant, rigorous, aligned curriculum? Yeah, we're doing that, and this is how we've done it. You know what I'm saying? Like self-eval as we're doing it might kind of make it easier to look at what needed added to different columns.
Our table last time talked about like having measurable goals, which is, I know, difficult in education, but just somehow revamping that wording to having SMART goals, measurable goals, something like that.
I know, something that came up and it fall into the facilities target, and we do it, and I think we do it well, but it's not spelled out in there, was on safety.
Yeah.
So that went under facilities, having a safety target area, not that we have lacked in that, or, I mean, obviously the stakeholders can chime in on that, but I'm personally proud of what we've invested in resources and dollars on our school security, but
But I guess adding that, because this is what we want to continue to do, right?
but like I said, since 18, obviously, we've invested a lot in that, but it's not spelled out in here, so that would probably go under the facilities.
Yeah, I mean, my very first board meeting, that was one of the things that we addressed was the safety in the ag shop. And
Yes.
It was brought up that, just talked about how clean we keep our schools and the facilities on top of just up to date, but I mean, you go into our facilities and they are top-notch clean. So, and that was, you know, is obviously important to some parents to make sure that we have clean.
I agree.
And that
I've
falls
been
under
in-
safe and
I've been to some
nourishment,
other
so.
schools and I couldn't believe the shape that they let them get into.
Our teaching staff, on the target areas for academics, since not that all five do, obviously affect you, but on academics, you read those 4 target areas, are those good targets, change something?
The thing that strikes me is we talk about safety being our number one priority, but yet we have one word here, that we have a safe and nurturing environment. We don't really talk about safety.
Yeah, I think that's why adding something about safety under the facilities would be a good idea.
I think safety is probably,
Thing that's missing.
it's something that's in 2018 wasn't looked at as strongly as it is today. You know, we're in a changing world.
I'll just chime in about the pins in the door and having that safety measure that every time that a tragedy happens, and I see that on the news, see that online, I go to work the next day and I know that any given moment, all I have to do is drop that pin. And it gives me such a huge peace of mind to know I have that safety measure.
And every year that goes by, we get more and more questions from the students regarding safety as well. When we do our drills, it does feel like every year the students are more curious and want to know about their personal safety. And it is very nice to assure them of the continued progress our district is making in that regard. Thank you.
We are Alice trained district, so alert, lockdown, phone is the first 3. And so what they're describing that, and then our system through our phones, that does that in a matter of seconds. And then obviously C is counter, E is evacuate. Those are up to the situation, up to the teacher. No 2 situations and those types of situations would ever be the same. You know, you hope that C and E and Alice is never taken, that we don't have to worry about those. That just through locking and informing, as informing's a lot, but the biggest inform is we've informed our good guys, our police force, our SROs, that we need aid. And we also are telling everyone in that building, including the potential intruder, that the good guys are on their way. And, you know, no code words like it used to be. We are to the point, and we take those drills very seriously, and because they are important. So.
And I think increasing the SRO presence, which I believe was this year,
Mhm.
it is noticeable. And it's a peace of mind. It means a lot.
Yeah, because we've heard they're doing their job of checking the doors outside and everything, doing a good job at all the schools, which is
Absolutely.
very important.
Thank you.
I remember that when we first got an SRO, I mean, obviously, but I was like, I don't know if we really need an SRO. In this day and age, I'm glad we have all the SROs that we have. I really am.
I do think a core belief should be safety, and we're talking about, I'm sure in facilities it can go there too, but, and I'm sure the other administrators do this too, but the first thing out of my mouth every time a student comes in my office is, my job is to keep you safe, and my job is to keep all of our other students safe, and that's the first thing that I tell them, because then we're moving into something that makes another student not feel safe or whatever, but I always address it that way, because that's what we want all of our students to feel safe in our buildings so they can learn. And so I'm like trying to see how we can put that into one of these statements that's already here. And I think there's a couple we could, you know, a safe learning environment, you know, but I think that that's is a core belief that all the administrators have in our buildings.
And the teachers, because I would say that is something that we're constantly evaluating, keeping our educational environment within our classroom a safe learning environment for all students. And I do feel like our building has plans in place where if in the event that didn't happen, we could hopefully maintain that educational environment. But it does seem that since we're already doing some of this, we could go ahead and say it.
I think, yeah, just adding it to whether it's facilities or personnel or both. So it supports, if we're gonna keep our mission statement the same, so it supports that, especially, I mean, we're 2025, and if we're looking at, say we do 2035, I mean, we know how much changed in the last 5 years or 4 years, education could change dramatically. So, and we're seeing changes happen right now that might shape how it looks in 2 to 3 years, so.
Does anybody have any other input?
Got anything?
I think you could put that safety category in the facilities area.
I agree.
As one of the target areas. To ensure the safety of staff, students, however you want
Learning
to,
environment.
yeah, to encourage a learning environment to go on.
Just as an encouragement for providing, under academics, it says provide student services and supports to meet the needs of each child, and I think that's been addressed already at this meeting, so just have a robust conversation of, are you meeting goal number 1 for all students?
Do we have anything under personnel or technology?
Sure, I know there's been some growing pains with technology this year, but does it seem like getting, I think it's great, it's good now, getting great?
I know when it comes to technology, 2 other meetings, and of course, we were talking on K-5 population, some parents, they were concerned about screen time, and that's big, KSD put out a report on that too. Now we're getting into the middle school and high school where one-to-one is used a lot more, as I know at the elementaries, it was kind of conveyed that, yeah, they have one-to-one, but they're not on them that much. I mean, they use them at the elementary level more for, they do, learning circles. So the teacher might be with 4, and this group of 4 is working on something, puzzles, this one's on the Chromebook. So do you guys want to explain how, kind of in a typical class, whether it's your 2 or just your colleagues, how our one-to-ones used in middle school?
I know we're both on the 6th grade team, and the 6th grade team does talk about, who's using technology, how often we're using technology. And I think each time we find that it's never 100% of their day. I guess I shouldn't say never say never, but it would rarely be 100% of their day. And we have a wide variety of instructional methods that we utilize.
I know that we always are at our boards teaching for at least a good first 30 minutes of class, and then turning loose our students with an online assignment or an online dig for more knowledge kind of thing. And so I would say, for me personally, it's maybe sometimes the last 20 minutes.
Some of us are old fashioned and do a lot of paper pencil.
But it's available if needed
Yes.
at all times, as long as their Chromebooks are charged.
I also feel like we do a really nice job of making sure the students are able to understand when technology is permitted and when it's not permitted. I know in 6th grade especially, we work really hard at establishing those guidelines so they're treated fairly and they're not caught off guard with our expectations.
And I don't know if every classroom uses like the color system, but I've got a red card on my
Yeah.
board that when the kids walk in, they know keep it shut.
Yes.
Until I allow them to open it up and say, this is where we're at. Go to Google Classroom, there's a link I want you to click on, so it's gonna guide the instruction. So they know they're not coming in and just starting a game or something like that. It's keep it closed, let's talk, and then let's develop the lesson before you dive into that.
You guys were talking about both categories, but back to personnel, I see that the last point down there says develop a mentoring program that ensures our staff have a support base that allows for growth. I think we have things established for new teachers coming in, but I really think there's a need for, potentially instructional coaches at each of our buildings or one, throughout the district that I think would really benefit our staff that are even in their later years of, and, to continue to grow. I think that's something that's always a challenge, is to kind of have that growth mindset. And if once you get some experience, you think you've got it all mastered. And so, having somebody that specializes in that kind of, instructional coaching to help all of our teachers, I think that would be a really good idea for that mentoring program. And like I said, I think we have it for our beginning teachers. Okay, those programs. And maybe I'm missing it. Maybe I think there's something there to think about for a mentoring program for all of our teachers.
Has there been any talk about adding, obviously academics is our number one thing, but schools, we provide a lot more than that, all the after school programs, the extracurricular sports. I mean, I think that's a huge part of a student's life cycle, is all the other things they're doing in addition to the academics. So I don't know if do we need to add a column that,
I mean, like for, say, FFA or
well, everything.
choir or
Well, I mean, football.
FBLA,
Yes.
any sports. Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
Because I feel like we do spend a lot of time helping support all the extras. I think that's a big part of a student's, being a student.
Sure.
It's not just sitting in a classroom. So,
Yeah, so those are called, so extracurricular are your sports.
Yeah.
Co-curricular
Co-curricular.
are extensions of the classroom, and we have a lot of those, so that would be like your FBLA, FFA, music, choir. Just think about what those are, is they had a class for it, and now they are doing something after school on the weekends. Those are co-curricular. And we've over the years have expanded both of those, from FBLA being robust at the middle school and the high school. Of course, FFA continues, but we've added sports programs from, started with just co-ed soccer, now it's boys and girls. We've added swimming, we've added middle school cross country. Next
Girls
year,
wrestling.
girls wrestling, we're, next year gonna have middle school debate. Scholars Bowl, we've added the web program for 6th grade, Interact, which is like the junior Rotary program we have strong at the high school, so, which would be a co-curricular as well.
And as just hearing what Heidi said, like when she looked, and this was an important document for her, I think if a parent was looking, I think, yes, these are all very important, but I think that would be almost another column that
I
would
agree.
be what we support as a school
Student,
district.
like
And as a-
engagement or.
Yeah.
When you
Yes.
as a board discuss those things, what goal do you tag on it? Because on your agenda, they all have the goals tagged, so what, is that academics or what?
Belonging. It's belonging.
Belonging?
Yeah, there's a spot for everyone, that they belong somewhere, and that you have things that, sorry, I'm just gonna.
No,
She didn't answer, she wasn't answering your
Oh,
question.
I don't see that on my.
It's not there, but that could be what you could, like that they have things for sports, and that they have things for academics, and that people have clubs that they're interested in. Sorry, that's just.
Yeah, no, you're-
throwing it out.
So have a sense of belonging.
What did you put that, what do you, like, as far as like,
Those would usually be academic. Obviously, if we're talking about expanding a program that needs to, we need to expand the welding bays or the kitchen, then obviously it's gonna pull into a goal facilities or potentially personnel or technology.
Yeah.
It just kind of depends where that goes, so on what the specific conversation is, but.
I do see it. I know when we sit in our admin meetings the day after the board meeting, and every time that Dr. Bierman is going through our agenda, he is constantly referring back to the goals that we're talking to, and I do think that this fits in a lot when we do bring up this kind of thing. I can see us in our admin meeting talking about an extracurricular or co-curricular, and him easily turning around and saying, okay, here's where this fits in, but he's always guiding our conversations towards the strategic plans, like, I do think that fits in.
There could probably be a better one, but I mean, I think if we talk about like,
Sure.
need new stadium seating for, well, that's facility, or, you know, different
Okay.
coach, that would be personnel, or
Okay.
something like that, you could
Just tagging it as.
tag it
Okay.
into something like that
Makes sense.
possibly. But there could probably be a better or additional.
Well, not to, you don't want to beat it to a horse necessarily, but just like if you are talking about like expanding that, like the soccer program or whatever, like what would that be?
Yeah. Well, so on that, I mean, personnel one is we'd have to add coaches, if we did that, potentially facilities. So I mean, if you're expanding the program, do we have the current facility? So like on soccer, do we have the current fields and stadium and everything? Or do we need to expand seating, which we just did that, because our programs are doing great. We have a lot of people to show up for support that. But yeah, you're right, it would probably from the learning aspect would fall under academics in a different way than some people might think. But I mean, research shows that kids that are involved in co-curricular and extracurricular, I mean, they are more engaged, they don't drop out of school, because it goes back to what Ms. Crater said, they have a sense of belonging. I mean, I would hope, call it a portrait of a wildcat or whatever, but every one of our kids at least has went through our system and has been involved in something. We're small enough, and you guys know the kids, that some kids are involved in a lot of things, great. But I hope there aren't many kids, or hardly any, maybe zero, that go through and haven't done something.
I think it would be good to add another column though, with extracurricular and co-curricular activities, you know, just, I think it would be good, you know.
So career technical would be in there then, which would be the co-curricular,
Yeah.
so what we offer at Stars and Pleasanton over in Taylor.
Yeah, put both of them in there.
Yeah.
Call it engagement.
Engagement slash belonging.
Yeah, student engagement, yeah. I think that'd be a good column.
Yeah.
Good conversations.
And it's funny because each one has brought something a little different to the table.
Because obviously this wasn't a conversation for the elementary level.
Right.
Right,
you know?
yeah.
Anything else? And then if you, or especially you guys represent your colleagues, even if there's something middle school staff, Megan and Time, if they think about sending my way, obviously this is, I don't know, I mean, sometime in 2025, we'll have this, whether it's September or December, I don't know, but that's kind of the goal is, obviously, we could ride this one out through December, but we definitely need something in place, and that's why we're working on it early, but as far as.
Well, I think,
see it, I don't
yeah,
know.
obviously, we need to get it done.
Yeah. This in 2025.
Yeah. While this board is still seated, because we're the ones working on it.
That's right, because it could be sooner, yeah. So if you go back and someone said, I wanted to be there, did they think about this, shoot it my way. We'll definitely include it.
Okay, thank you, everybody, for your input. Okay. 5.0 action items. 5.1 approved board policy JCAC.
The board has in their packet, and I still think Ms. Yoder put it in front of you as well, copy of the latest JCAC interrogation investigation policy. It's up on the board too. I know there's been a lot of conversations and communication with legal as well, so it is there for discussion and eventually approval.
And down.
I'll just say, I mean, I know we've had this under discussion item for the last two meetings, and it's been a work in progress, and Brian and I have both been in contact with legal quite a bit on it, and like Heidi said, it's not perfect, but, you know, I think it's the best that we could come up with for both students and staff. And I think it's a better document than what we had. So, I mean, I don't see any changes that I want to make to it.
I didn't either.
I'd just like to thank Heidi for sticking with us through this and, you know, giving us perspective of a parent and for coming forward tonight and saying what you said, so thank you.
I mean, I would move to approve board policy JCAC as presented.
I second it.
Been moved and seconded to approve board policy JCAC as presented. Is there any further discussion?
Hook,
Yes.
Apple,
Yes.
Bose,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Studeville,
Yes.
and Tisdale.
Yes.
Goodman.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay, 5.2, approve school handbook changes.
Okay, last time, we had all the handbooks in front of the board, the administrators came forward and had discussions. We moved those to, approval. I would assume there might be a few conversations wanting to be had with the high school with how cell phones went last time, but we'll just start at the lowest and move up, so, Rockford, and so nothing has changed, well, excuse me, we did go back, yeah, so why don't you guys come up and share? This was on the tolerance, conversation. They did, visit with legal afterwards, so I guess Ms. Crater drew the short straw, so.
No, she's coming.
Okay, so go ahead and,
Because you reached out to me.
Right.
so that didn't change, so if you can go to the,
So,
Yes.
yeah, this was the suggestion from the attorney at KASB, and how to basically word this situation. So, I mean, we just kind of cut and pasted it right in there. She did say, like, take out some of the wording that we had beforehand that stated use of hate speech, I think is the term that we used, and she was like, let's take that out, it'd be a violation of racial and disability discrimination instead, and so. Okay.
Do like that language.
One other thing that we removed was in this last column, there was a specific wording about a program. We don't have that program. And so we were like, you know, that could be really subjective too. So we took that piece out as well.
I think the creation of a safety and support plan is pretty important if it continues and we see that. We want to make sure, you know, we talked, kind of like Megan was saying, it's really important that kids feel safe. And so we want to put supports in place for a student that was affected by it or a student that was continuing to use maybe language such as that. So,
And these are all things that we can do. We don't do every single thing. So like, for example, I had a technology violation. And one of the, you know, it says like contact parent, loss of privilege, that, you know, depending on what it is, basically.
Right.
And so it was like, for that, I contacted the parent and the student lost privilege, except for state assessments, of the technology for a week. And so we don't do necessarily everything. It just kind of depends on how big is the first offense or how big is at our level too. A lot of it is just educating. A lot of times we parrot what we hear or see or things like that. And so a lot of it is really about like understanding the intent behind the you know, words used, and then also like educating the student about why that's not necessarily a nice thing to say or point out.
helping them with missing skills.
So what do you think of this language?
I'm okay with it. I think it covers anything that we may see. I think that's sometimes whenever we go, I mean, even Megan covered for me when I was gone last week, and I was like, go to the continuum and look at
Amazing.
and look at like column 1, you know, or go to the continuum, and that's kind of like what you can pull from. And so I think having kind of an array and not being, I guess,
Rigid.
rigid with how we
handle situations, it's good, because it just depends
Right.
on.
Discretionary.
It is, and it just depends on the intent a lot of times. And with little ones, a lot of, I always say kids try things on, they hear something, they hear their brother or sister do something or say something, or on TV or on YouTube, they try it on, they see if it works for them. If it does, they're gonna continue. If it doesn't work for them, we've nipped it in the bud, hopefully, before it gets to their age and stage, and the consequences are much bigger, much worse for them.
I do like you guys being color coordinated. Your outfit.
Oh, yeah. We just know it's cold. If this
It is, it's cold on this side
I
of the
have
room.
my soccer and track bag, so I couldn't have my comfy on with my.
We're 2 peas in a pod, we didn't even plan.
No, that's right.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, next would be the middle school. The only change is, when, they visited with the attorneys, because all the principals kind of had some language in there, and so we wanted to be consistent. So Megan, you want to come up, and because this was rewritten a little bit based off conversations that Cindy and Janelle had, correct?
Yes, we just added at the very end, in the very bottom, students involved in intimidating, harassing, or threatening behavior, as well as those violating racial, disability, or sex-based discrimination policies are subject to suspension and possible expulsion. So we just, we don't have the necessarily the continuum, but that just went in, and it works really nicely. We had a situation in our building right after the lawyer had given that wording, and when we presented that wording to the parents, it made sense. So I guess it just made sense to us.
So you had looked at using the like same boxes, right? Last time?
The boxes is these guys?
Yeah.
So we don't have, there's like a matrix-ish.
Yeah.
We have kind of something like that.
Yeah.
Kind of I talked about, because after I went to Cindy's building,
Yeah.
it was really nice because, we have talked about too, but it sometimes maybe elementary seems to fit in those boxes a little more than our building, but we have a matrix that kind of talked about maybe making more like the continuum.
So this is the version of that, essentially.
Correct.
Okay.
It's the exact wording fit into
Okay.
here from the lawyer that we thought worked.
Okay.
And we also want to stay consistent too.
Yeah.
Thank you, Megan.
Amy, if you want to come up for the high school, so I just, and actually I have a yonder while Amy's talking, I'll go get it, pass around. You want to see the case that, if there's any students talking, I don't think the board's going that way, but I was tasked to, so I have one if you want to take a look at that. And I did tell Amy probably the first day of school when Michael and her stand on stage, it might not, because they go through all the handbook, I would probably show the yonder and say, hey, students, we want you to be safe with your cell phones, or this potentially might happen, but, that's up to her to do that. So, the only thing she changed would have been that language as well, and then the cell phones. So, but if we want to go to the cell phone, you know what page that's on, Amy? Okay, you're going fast, but maybe you're saying.
Is
Is
it
that-
in yellow?
Wouldn't it be in yellow though?
No, it's in purple, the changes.
Purple, yeah, you're past, yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Yeah, Jimmy's fast with the wow.
There's just looking for yellow.
Page
There
10.
was a yellow spot,
Two.
so.
Page 2. It's 10.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're gonna bring that up, Mr.
Keep
Chairman.
going. Right. Whoop,
Ooh.
there it is.
So I don't know if you want to ask questions or if you want to go through all of that. We really just were thinking academic time and allowing only use in passing and at lunch before and after school. So the times that would be really hard for us to monitor in those light groups, so that we would just allow the kids to have them at any academic time, they would be stowed for the entirety of those blocks.
And really, some teachers have already been using this.
And they were before even school.
Right.
started. I mean, way before some.
Right. So basically, this is gonna be just school-wide. So there's no variation. Every classroom's the same now.
I did have a question that was sent to me. I think there was concern about like obviously when you're doing your work or separate from instructional time about being able to use Chromebook for music? Is that, you know how like a kid would like plug in, like when he's doing like work, just not to be bothered when it's separate? I was just curious on that, is if the Chromebook offered that.
And it does, they can't Bluetooth, they just have to be able to plug it in.
Okay,
So,
so that would be like something that would be allowed by a teacher, and like if they're just working on
and I
on
think
their
we
own or
just
something.
need to come to an agreement, like as a building, and I don't know if that's something you want an opinion on, but, just make sure everybody's on the same page for things like that.
So it'd be like with headphones then?
That's what he's talking about.
Okay.
We disabled all Chromebooks from Bluetoothing because we have so many Bluetooth devices in the
Right.
building that kids were picking up with their phones, Bluetooth, doing
Yeah.
appropriate things
Yeah.
like playing music, and we couldn't control it, so we disabled all of those.
So just as a
So
headphone
we
jack.
have to be using the jack, so which would not be cool, but because we're wireless right now, but
Hey.
everybody's done that. But that's how you would have to access it.
No, I think Bluetooth would be way too hard with
Yeah.
the number of, so.
But the bigger distractions of our youth today, obviously, are the social media and all that.
Yes.
They can't get any of that through.
Well, that's what I was
I think that
wondering,
was the
what would they be able
concern.
to access from a music standpoint, even
Somehow
probably?
they had a library on their Google
Like, kick it.
folder, because
Mhm.
obviously Chromebook is all Google, so if they have in their Google Drive a library of music, yeah, they won't be able to get on Spotify or, I mean,
Right,
they would-
like
they would-
that.
they would have had to download music in there and then be playing it, but not be on any social.
That was
media
just a
sites.
question a parent had for me, was because I know that obviously their students utilize the headphones to be able to work during, yeah, like quiet time, yeah, so.
Runs through the consequences for abusing policy.
So it's pretty strict right away. I can go down. the line. So first offense, one thing that we have right now is the phones are by block. So this one will be across all blocks. So we'll have a system where we'll be able to keep track of infractions as they're happening. So that will help. So you can just kind of read from that. If you just scroll a little bit more, you can see that first look back. I'm sorry, right there is first offense. So their phone will have to be put away, a warn, notify, and a discipline skyward entry. So all that stuff is documented. So really, there's just that one freebie, and then the consequences do.
So tell us about the consequences.
Okay, so there's the second one, so regardless of the block. So the second one, they would take them to the office, the teachers would, students can get them at the end of the school day. In addition to an after-school detention, a week-long 5-day school phone ban is imposed. So the kids will either bring it to the office or they can leave the phone at home. So that's immediate, so that's really just after a warning, it's a 5-day suspension of their phone. The third one is, again, they're gonna have to have it delivered to the office. They get it at the end of the school day, so they'll lose their phone for 5 days. And then their opt-out for finals is eliminated for that semester. And that's a huge one. The kids work really hard to try to get those opt-outs, so they would lose that privilege. And then there's the fourth one, saying it's gonna go to the office to retrieve at the end of the school day, to include in school suspension and a semester long, finishing that semester phone ban, so that they can turn it into the office or leave it at home.
How hard is that going to be to police? I mean, I have no idea like how many kids you think this is gonna be, but I mean, are you gonna have 25 kids that every morning are gonna try to sneak past you guys and you're gonna have to hunt them down to get their phone, do you think?
Look for the turning in when they have to turn it in.
Uh-huh.
We have that same process now. There are kids that lose their privilege, and we have phones that are kept in the office, and so their teachers know. And
Okay.
then if they have them out, if they see them with them, and then we work from there. So we don't chase them down. We just assume that it's in the office. We have that understanding where they must have it at home. So if it gets seen, then we follow up with that.
Okay.
Why did you decide to go so harsh on penalties right out of the gate?
In talking just to other schools that started with the enforcement of strict phone policy, that was the way that they went, and they found that the kids, they'll go as far as we'll allow them as with the phones, so the immediate consequence really kept the, not following the rules at bay.
But I don't know, I have a problem, you bring in finals. It just seems we're in an environment where we're losing student population, and it just seems over the top to me.
I think it's a great way to get student attention.
It is something that they enjoy, so that was, I think it will get their attention.
Well, we have other policies where they can lose that privilege too, right?
Yes, sure.
Well, I like it getting right out of the gate doing it, because if not, like you say, they're gonna think, well, I can get away with it.
Right.
Just keep going on and on, yeah.
That final thing, that's a big one, because the kids, they work hard to try to avoid. Yeah,
Are these per semester? I'm sorry.
Yes.
These
All
offenses are-
writings always reset it.
So they'd have two opportunities to mess up and still be able to opt out of finals before finals was taken away per semester.
I think our.
finals isn't taken away. It's
Well,
the-
not
the-
fi-
it's
the
the
opt out taken away. Yes, I'm sorry, that's what I meant.
I think the intent of the policy is to keep the phones out of classroom universally. So to have, here's the offenses, that's gonna support our policy of not having phones in the classroom, to me, so.
And then, when you go over the handbooks with the staff and the students, that's gonna be a big highlight point to emphasize, isn't it? Because that's,
It'll get their attention.
yeah.
It'll be a highlight tomorrow.
Word is
Oh,
already
yeah.
out.
Oh, yes, my soon-to-be high schooler was already like, I heard you guys are taking away phones. I
She
was
doesn't
like,
have phones now.
I know, no, she doesn't, not at the middle school.
Middle school stuff.
I think the staff is gonna find that the kids are gonna be much more engaged, not just with staff, but with each other. Academics are gonna improve. It's gonna be a positive.
I agree.
Plus the other problems we've had with
Yes,
phones.
but I mean,
Reduce them. It won't make, they won't.
No,
make
it won't.
it's not gonna be the answer to
But yeah,
that,
it
but
will reduce them.
It should help.
I mean, we're here to educate children, and the phones are a distraction. And I've had a lot of people tell me that, a lot of teachers tell me that. And it's something I wanted to do ever since I've been on the board, and I think it's, a lot of districts are doing it, and I think it's gonna be a big positive
I
for
feel
our
like
district.
every year we talk about doing it.
Sure.
So, I think.
Well, and it's not really anything different for the incoming freshmen,
No, it's
right?
not.
I mean, it's
No, it's
actually a
more.
little more relaxed.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
between classes and stuff.
after
The
4
freshmen should have
years,
no-
you'll
the
have
Freshmen
already.
should have no problem
Yeah.
complying.
Mhm.
That's true.
I mean, I know what a distraction my children's electronics are at home.
Yes,
So, like, hello, did you hear me? So I cannot imagine what the teachers go through.
In our site council meeting, that was brought up by a couple of the teachers, was just the frustration and it almost a lack of respect.
For sure.
One of them gave the example of, a kid with their AirPods in and, oh, let me finish, I gotta finish this, I'm texting my mom and, not taking the AirPods out or setting the phone down and just the teacher knowing that's not really what the kid was doing. Just a lot of frustration. I'm definitely in favor of it.
I think it's a good policy.
Do you have other changes on there?
Just, you had a discrimination one too, correct?
Ours is exactly
Like-
matched, exactly.
Okay. And then I will pass this around, but just so you can see it, so, table one, and you'll see this, so like this potentially would be on the wall, so as kids come in and then they make mobile ones too, but all you do is open that up like that and you put your phone in and lock it. This, as we even discussed, would be a student that needs their phone, they're medically fragile, you name it. It has a very, strong Velcro and a loud sound, so a student would have this, but I'm still not open, so, you would hear that obviously if that would open, but, you cannot open that one. So, and I did send you the quote for 1,000 of these, and implementation would be about $36,000, so, if you do want that, all you do is just click that on there and it opens up like that. If you take this home for your own child, I only have one. So. All right, thank you, Dr. Manning. Well, I guess if you want to stay there, I don't think that, but she also provided this one. No changes from the discussion before. I do applaud Amy, just last year, 2 years ago, she developed this. We used to not, just hit it on, yeah, make that way.
I'm just.
Okay.
I'll just pass it.
Yeah, just push it on, hit it on there. But Amy developed this probably, just in her first year to realize we didn't have one. And so she just had a few changes, but she hasn't changed anything since last time. So if someone had something, that was that. Okay.
See it, but
That's fine.
nobody wants to see it.
Yeah, that's,
All right.
and then, okay, thank you. Ty had shared the activity ones, so no changes after last time, but it was in the packet as well. Probably from Ty's standpoint, change how he discussed how we're gonna change the online passes, which will actually go down for many. I mean, you can see right there, student one's gonna go from 50 to 35, individual go down $30, and the family pass stay the same. And then if a family is larger than 4, then they'll contact the school and get that 5th, 6th, 7th, however many they have. Yeah, so, but it will not be more expensive after the 5th one. So, and then the last handbook was the one that Kristen Copeland worked on with our classified or hourly, putting those needed changes in as well. So, and no changes after the discussion with the board from last month. We just moved those from discussion to action for the board.
We have a motion to approve.
I move to approve the school and classified handbook changes as presented.
I second it.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the school and classified handbook changes as presented. Is there any further discussion?
Foot,
Yes.
Apple,
No.
Bose,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Studeville,
Yes.
and Tisdale,
Yes.
Goodman. Yes. Motion passed.
Okay, 5.3, approve enrollment fees.
Okay, I presented this document last time, and with minimal changes on here. In fact, as I shared, especially the few that are on the back, they actually were going down. The only thing still, we don't have lunch prices and breakfast prices, and so as soon as Katie gets those, but there's forms that come from the feds to the state, deal with free and reduced and all that, the direct certification process. Those still aren't out, so that's why the motion is saying, to approve everything so we can start working on enrollment, handbooks and everything. And then as we get the updated lunch prices and breakfast, that those would be determined at a later date, but nothing else on here has changed.
I move to approve the fee handbook or updated enrollment fees as presented.
And then, I don't know if you have a motion in front of you, but we could also say school meal prices will be determined at a later date.
Sorry, I'm trying to get to the motion.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great. I move to approve the updated enrollment fees as presented. School meal prices will be determined at a later date.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the updated enrollment fees as presented. School meal prices will be determined at a later date. Is there any further discussion?
Foot,
Yes.
Apple,
Yes.
Bose,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Studeville,
Yes.
and Tisdale,
Yes.
Goodman.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay, 5.4, approved K through 12 elective resources.
Mr. Tappan come up. As we know, each year, Mr. Tappan works with different departments to bring curricular and resource purchases to the board. It is a little different, challenging when you know, you think of all our different career technical and elective classes. You know, for example, next year, Mr. Tappan will just be dealing with pre-K-5 with ELA. So it's, you know, that target audience, but with this, Dave's working with a lot of different folks. And so it does take a lot of time, and he's done a nice job with it. So he has a slideshow here to kind of go through what he came up with, and so take it away.
All right, well, very good. Thank you for the time and the opportunity to share this with you. As Dr. Bierman said, at this time in the past, I would be sharing, for example, Big Ideas, which is our Math K-12 curriculum, and you'd have one quote, you'd see how much it is, you'd recognize that it's for all of our students, grades K through 12, you'd approve it, ask questions, and we move forward. This is a little different, and so what I've put together is a slideshow to show you all of the different classes that are involved in this recommended purchase, because it affects not only the high school, but it also affects the middle school. So just starting with the first slide, we do have our media, design, and communications pathway. I broke these purchases up by our career tech ed pathways. And so I could answer some questions as to who teaches these classes, what grade levels are in these classes. But media design, communications pathway, Mr. Wybara's classes, those are the 5 classes on the left. Also our journalism or yearbook class is, would be supported with this purchase. The requested materials just for these classes or these courses are the cameras, the microphones, and some tripods. And the total estimated cost of those at this time is $4,200. And you're gonna see the word estimate or estimated quite a bit, because right now everything is a moving target. And for a lot of things that are going on in Washington DC, when I put on there a planer that the ag department needs, the price today is different than the price was a month ago when we got the first quote. So until we make the purchase, we have a moving target. So at the end, when you see an estimated cost of roughly $175, it could be a little bit higher, or it could be a little bit lower. But for media design, Mr. Wybar has requested about $4,200 worth of materials. You know, I could go into more details if you had a chance to look at that. Each one of those had a link that you could go to see what kind of camera it was or what kind of microphones he was purchasing. But we have those broken down for each one of those.
And
We go to the
before
next.
we get out there, remember
Yeah.
last year when we had the career tech teachers come forward, Mr. Wybara had requested new computers, and so that was a sizable one. Obviously, those are the big Macs that he needs. So we're mostly a PC district, but in a lot of those classes, so the district's already. So that was I wish that was only 4,200, but that thought about 2 machines, and so they have those all in those classes this year as well. But, you know, there's a few things, especially when they came forward, that we wanted to get right away. We knew this was coming, and so we did take care of some of their needs, but this will kind of fulfill those needs.
I think he had maybe even mentioned the
He
cameras.
did, yes, those last ones.
So all of these items, not just this slide, but all of them, are these things that we're wanting to build into our budget for the coming year, or will this come out of this year's budget? What's the?
Most of out of this year, and you know, obviously Dave's the curriculum guy, then he comes to me on the budget side, so he actually was doing that today. It'll be a combination of the textbook and resource fund and capital outlay, depending on, you know, so most of those obviously would fall out under like a capital outlay purchase. But as we go through some of these and they're more curricular, like you said, it's easy next year when he says what we're gonna do for the pre-K-5, that's gonna come out of all the curriculum textbook. But so as we get closer to ending this budget year and we see where we're at in those 2 funds versus next year, so no different than like what we did with the asphalt bids, that we're paying some out of this fiscal year and for some on funding next year. So they'll all be in place in August when the teachers come back. From a budgetary standpoint, though,
some will be out this year, some out next year.
So, but I mean, ultimately, all of this is pretty well accounted for in the budget. I mean, it's all budgeted for
Yes.
currently.
Yes.
I would like to say I
It'll be- it'll be for next
strategically
year.
planned this so that $175,000 is give or take what we purchased in the last 2 years for other core subject areas, but it's honestly was more coincidental than anything, that it was about the same amount. But it also takes note what Dr. Bierman has talked about. Last year, you guys, it said the board supported 2 full computer labs, one being the Apple lab, one being the PC lab. But you've also purchased a lot of other items in the past. The greenhouse that was purchased and built roughly 10 years ago is a great example of the career tech ed support that you guys have shown. Other areas are the STARS program that was alluded to earlier. The amount of money that we as a district spend on transportation to send our kids over to the Fort Scott campus over in Paola for the nursing program and other things. So this is helping with materials, but all along, we've been supporting our career tech ed students quite a bit. And that happens every year. This just happens to be the year that we went to them individually as teachers and said, what can we do right now to help support your program, since our other core subject areas were not up for major purchases. So, with the next one, we start talking about our early childhood development and services pathway. You can see our classes that are offered over on the left. This has a lot to do with our future teachers. A lot of the kids that are interested in education, they start by taking these type of courses in the high school, and they start with a lot of the early childhood curriculum, and you can see some of the purchases kind of go along with that, with the Real Care Babies or the Empathy Bellies, the Fetal Alcohol Syndrome Bellies, and then the Cricket Makers. If you have a chance to go around the high school and you see some of those awesome bulletin boards, those are coming out of this early childhood class, and those Cricket Makers that make the different letters and different things that you see on those bulletin boards, those are coming out of that classroom a lot of times. And so to help support that, they would like to purchase some more Cricket Makers. And with that, and I don't know if Dr. Bierman will be bringing laptop or teacher laptops to you this board meeting or the next board meeting, we plan on reusing some of our teacher computers and hooking those Crickets up to those computers. So we won't just be sending all those computers to Purple Wave, we'll be reusing those. And when I was working with Mrs. Morrow on this project and this purchase, she was looking forward to being able to just purchase Crickets and saving the district money by keeping those computers in the district and continuing to use those. So her purchase was about $13,000. We move over to the next slide. We start talking about our restaurant and event management pathway. This is another example of the school district and Dr. Van Reen supporting this program throughout the last couple of years. When Mrs. Jenkins started a couple of years ago, we spent, Dr. Van Reen together, we spent about $2,000 to $3,000 on updating those 4 kitchen areas through some just general purchases through Dr. Van Reen's budget and some of the budget money that we had here out of the district office. So she is only asking for a freeze dryer and the potential of purchasing some ovens. So we have 4 ovens that have been there since the day Louisburg High School was built back in 2002. We had to replace one of those this year. We actually pulled an oven out of one of the special. Did you know there's an oven in the special education classroom? There's a life skills classroom that we don't utilize down there. There was an oven in there. We were able to use that oven as a replacement. But at some point, there's probably a future purchase coming for 4 ovens for that classroom.
I do have a question on this. I just clicked on that and obviously went to is this just one she picked, or do we need to be looking more like a commercial style oven with the amount of use?
The ovens that are in there right now are not commercial ovens.
Yeah,
these are similar to what's in there.
Yeah.
And we are also sort of limited in the space that we have. If you were to go into that fax classroom, they have to fit specifically into that cubby area, if you will.
So it's a residential oven.
It is a residential oven, which could lead to a whole other conversation another time about our restaurant and event management pathway.
Yeah.
When we start talking about culinary arts and some of the things that she's doing there, she is utilizing her facilities to the best of her abilities. It would make a major purchase by the school with a lot of dollars spent to change a residential 4 kitchens into an industrial restaurant type of area, kitchen.
I'm just curious if that, like, even looking at more of a commercial side for what we have, is that a possibility?
We can look into it. The dollars would go up a
Yeah,
little bit, but we
but I
would
mean-
also have to look at remanufacturing or re-imaging the kitchens as they are right now.
Yeah, and that's just kind of our advice we have. So in '02, that was developed as a home economics room. Probably Mary Bradbury was teaching it. And 23 years later, times have changed. And so, because the other room next to it, we have those two factories, and we can go through that area on our tour on Thursday. So it would, I don't even know if we have space in that room to make a commercial. What we've done is, Amy's bought a lot of mobile stainless steel carts. We did have carpet in there and hardwood. So last summer we tore up the carpet and it's all hardwoods. So now they have these mobile kitchens and mobile preps. But yeah, Dave's right on the oven's no different than if you were gonna remodel your home. If you can slide a new oven in, great. If not, then you have to rework all the cabinetry as well. So,
Yeah, I'm just wondering if we could find a 27-inch that is more commercial
Great.
for the use. You know what I'm saying? Try to fit it into what we have, but I'd almost rather spend, whether if maybe it's 3,000 oven instead of 2,000 or something. I don't know. I mean,
We can definitely look into that.
I would suggest we look into that.
The nice thing right now, though, is the 4 ovens that we have are currently working, and they're working well. One of the kitchen ovens wouldn't go above 350.
Yeah.
So anything you were cooking in that kitchen, if it was 400, it was gonna come out a little bit raw, or not as well done as it should, or you had to leave it in there
I
longer.
like gooey cookies.
Are most of the ovens that are there, are those original?
Yes,
Yeah.
all of
So-
them are
So
original.
the
Investment.
4 have lasted for 20 years.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I
We
think I
have had
cooked
to
a few
change
cookies
it.
in those ovens in
Yep.
high school.
We have had to change in their dishwashers and refrigerators, but yes, the 4 current
I
ovens.
mean, that's
have
pretty
lasted.
impressive that they lasted 20 years, I think.
That's used obviously for hospitality rooms as well, so it's been used a lot. So yeah, no, a good investment when that building was built, but it's time to look at that.
We move on to our business finance pathway, mainly taught by Mrs. Lane, with support, Mr. Czar, helping the new teacher that came on board with a late resignation together. These are really, the purchase is just for those accounting classes. She is okay with the textbooks that we have already purchased for her in the years past. This is some simulations to go along with those. So this would be something that would be a good example that would come out of the textbook or materials, not capital outlay. And so that's all that she's really asking for out of that department at this time, which again is a credit to the equipment that she has currently.
Added in that room, if you go in there, big screen TVs have been added the last few years, and so there's been other resources that Adrian has received.
The next one, we start getting into spending quite a bit more money, almost 40,000. This is for our ag science teachers to help support their classrooms. And you can see there's a lot of classes that are being taught in this pathway. This is actually a combination of 2 pathways as we restructured the career tech ed programs. It's diversified agriculture science and agricultural technology and mechanical systems are the 2 pathways that are supported by those 2 teachers. And a lot of the purchases that you can see over on the right-hand side are big, expensive purchases, and those prices are changing daily, if not weekly. For example, the quote that I received, one of them was good for 7 days. And so some other quotes in the past would be good for up to 60 days. These are short turnarounds. And they could go down, they could go up. But MIG welders, TIG welders, a planer, plasma cutter, and then the bottom 4 from bench vices on down, those are the type of Home Depot purchases that we can make. But the other ones we're purchasing from companies such as Lindy or Gap, Grizzly, some of the bigger companies that some of you may be more familiar with than I am. But those are some big purchases that we're looking at to help support that. And I know the board has talked about updating the shop area quite a bit. This would go a long ways towards that. And with new staff coming in, it'll be interesting to see what that building storeroom or that work area looks like in August compared to what it does now. Because I imagine there's going to be some cleaning and some things that take place as 2 new teachers take over that area for someone that's been there for 40 years. So.
And speaking of a good investment are some of those welders, because those welders have moved 3 times from what we know as, the original school, the West Gym, to the middle school in '92, and then the high school in '02. So, but no different some farmers, welders are, as long as they don't break and continue to weld, But now some of those aren't that old, but some of those are.
Well, I know there's stuff in there that I used when I was in high school.
I wasn't gonna say that, but
It's
A long time ago.
a long time ago.
Museum quality.
It is antiques.
Well, depending on how nostalgic you are, those will be available on Purple Wave this summer. And so we'll let you know what site to go to if you'd like to put it. So, and we will recoup some of the money with some of these items. We just don't dispose of them. We'll go through the auction Purple Wave process, and a lot of our items, if not all of our items, usually sell on Purple Wave. The next one is your Louisburg High School. We kind of get away from career tech ed. We start moving into some of our electives. Spanish department, so our 3 teachers that are supporting our foreign language classes. A lot of the items that you see over on the right-hand side, we're already purchasing, whether it's the principal, Megan, or Dr. Van Reen at the high school. They're purchasing that with some in-building line items, or we've been supporting those. But they went through and they did a nice job of vetting all 12 or 14 of those different websites. They do not have a core textbook. They teach using a variety of resources to help kids learn Spanish. And so some of those purchases are rather expensive. Some of them are some memberships. I did have a chance to go through each one of those, so I've got a little definition for each one if you wanted me to go through those. But the teachers have done a great job in that area. 6 years ago, when they were up for a purchase, they did not ask for textbooks. They asked for iPads. And so for the first time ever, we were able to convince Dr. Bierman and at the time Richard Griffin to go Apple a little bit. And so they have iPads, and part of their purchase, although not in here, is to re-image those iPads and continue to use those in the classroom. You see a note on the bottom that says Speakology AI, that $30,000 line item. They went to a conference and they saw something that they really want to embed. I think we're going to try to pilot that for a year rather than make a 6-year, $30,000 commitment. So I'm gonna try to work with Dr. Bierman and work with the teachers to see if we could pilot that for a semester or a year to see if that's something that is really, if we really are gonna get our bang for our buck on that purchase. So that is not part of the $45,000 purchase, nor will you see a $30,000 purchase order come to you for that line item. Our fax department, so this again supports our middle school and high school students. Had a chance to talk with Ms. Chip specifically for that. This one is just for the middle school. She just needs some equipment sets, some knife sets, some scales, about $2,000 worth of material to support each one of her kitchens as well. Getting close to the end, but you can see that we are supporting a lot of students in a lot of classrooms. Our business and computer department at the middle school, they are looking at some new textbooks that fall in line with the textbooks that are being used at the high school level. They're also looking at some software equipment. That Popcorn Cinema and the Google Specialist are some software tools that help Ms. Talley and Ms. Hester in their classrooms. I do know, and I think Dr. Bierman has alluded to you guys in the past, we are having some struggles in our computer labs at the middle school, and Dr. Bierman's been working with K-12 ITC to figure out a solution for that. That is not part of this purchase, but that $15,000 purchase is for 6-year agreements for these materials.
So this really would be spread, I mean, essentially this is for 6 years, or it's 14,000 each year?
It's 14,000 total for 6 years.
Okay.
So, and then that's where Dr. Bierman and Katie, as Dr. Bierman alluded to, they deal with the money kind of stuff, and I just get to bring the ideas of purchases to them. So they, in some cases, we spread some of the payments over 2 years, depending on how much items are and how we can work with our vendors. And then finally, our art department, and this is one that Dr. Bierman worked specifically with Darcy Phillips down at the middle school. It's time for a new kiln. I don't know how old the one is that was in there.
1992, it was the original one, and when that was the high school, and it's just shot. So actually, Darcy's been great, but what we're having to do is when we do a clay unit, just take all of that over to the high school and fire it over there. So she's been, and I was willing to buy it now and get it there just because but we weren't gonna, even if I would have bought it now, we weren't gonna get it to the end of school. So, and Darcy's aware of that. She's been great working with us, but yeah, we just, when you think about a kiln, it gets really, really hot, so after, since 92, it's been, I don't even know how hot it gets, 600, 800 degrees, but it gets hot in there. And so we will be getting Darcy that next year.
So this supports all the middle school, high school electives and career tech ed courses minus physical education. So that's a separate purchase at a different time. And I think our principals have done a good job of supporting those teachers with the equipment needs that they have had in the past. So roughly about 143,000 is all, would be for all these items. Once we get approval, I'll start working with Dr. Bierman and Katie as far as purchasing items out of this year's line item, or start dating things after July 1 for purchases for next year's budget.
I appreciate the detail into this,
Yeah.
clicking on the links and actually seeing the items. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
I move to approve the new K-12 electric resources and purchases as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the new K through 12 elective resources and purchases. Is there any further discussion?
But
Yes.
Apple,
Yes.
Bose,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Studeville,
Yes.
and Tisdale,
Yes.
Goodman.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay. 5.5, approve KSB annual membership and legal assistance.
And annual approval that districts across the state are asked to approve, so we receive the invoices from KASB. There are two of them. One's the membership renewal. On the membership renewal, and Jenny has up there, districts can opt in for what's called a seasonal pass. That would get board members, and like if you attend the state KSB convention, different trainings throughout the year. As far as I can remember, I don't think we've ever opted in for that. So on the membership side, it'd be the 11,000 to 1130. It would not be the 12,961.30 because it would not include that. If you don't opt in, board members can still attend anything. It's just a pay as you go. If you would go to a training or if you would go to the conference or whatever the case may be. And then the second one is the legal assistance fund for $2,750 that we are provided for policy for our administrative team to contact. Jenny works with KSB a lot on board clerk items. They have board clerk updates all the time that she's able to receive as well. So the approval would be for the 11,000 to 1130 and the $2,750.
Okay, that was one of my questions on the legal part. We were using the other lawyer mostly. Jenny's been using, or someone's been using this legal here during the year?
So I know a lot of staff and I know the principals use it a lot.
Okay, I want to make sure we're using it also if we're gonna pay the dues for it.
So
I use it a lot. I know the
Yeah.
principals do.
That's the main reason we have it, is for the building administration.
That and the bases, and then obviously we've just witnessed how policy can change, but they have the big policy writing arm that and even I think when Mundorf and Jessica have shared that with the board, that they are, well,
They're not equipped.
yeah, they're not equipped, or if you wanted to do it, you'd probably put a couple zeros on the end of that, so.
And that's, a lot of our updates come from that.
You get at least twice a year. You usually get December and June, and then obviously if the feds or state, like for example, now if the legislative branch, which they're about ready to end, now if they change anything and they can get that to you by June, but sometimes depending on when the legislative session, there could be an update in July or something. But yeah, all those policy updates come from there, and then you review it. If we need Gwen Mundorf to take a look at it as well. So.
And if I remember right, Gwen Mundorf supports us having them, right? Because
Of the policy, because of the policy on.
Yeah.
That and our insurance carrier.
Yeah, absolutely.
EMC has shared that it could potentially affect rates if we did not have as well.
I think we've done a pretty good job of, if we got a policy that we question that KSB has come out with, we've sent it to Gwen Wondorf to tailor it to our what we want, because obviously KSB is sending it out to all the school districts. Well, every school district's a little bit different. And I think Jessica does a good job of tailoring it to us.
We got an email not that long ago from KSB, right? They left NASB, the national, did we? Did we
No,
get
they
that, or
were, it
did-
was
what happened?
thoughts of doing that, but what I have seen, I think NSBA pulled back some of their beliefs,
Okay.
that, because they were having some.
I just thought we got an email like
Nah,
last
We
week or
did get
something.
something a couple of weeks ago from them.
But it
that
wasn't out
said-
of that they pulled out of that.
Okay,
I mean,
okay.
but
I don't know how that would
historically-
even affect anything.
No, it
but-
wouldn't, but I mean, that's good, but as a national organization, I think there were some things that the SBA was coming out with that KSB quickly heard that across the state of Kansas, maybe our communities didn't agree with. And so what I've kind of seen is NSBA's pulled back on some of those thoughts as well.
I got an email, I'm just looking at it from
Yeah.
March 12th, it said, reading, KASB Board of Directors voted not to renew our membership to the National School Board Association for
Was that for-
25-26.
Also for next year, okay, 'cause
Yeah.
they currently, okay.
So I don't know how that affects KASB anything.
It wouldn't,
But
okay.
I just,
Okay.
for the
They're not
community
paying
to
dues.
know, yeah.
I mean, a portion of dues are not going there. Our dues.
You're right,
I mean,
our,
to the national. level.
correct.
And I think that was a concern we had a few years
It
ago.
was, yeah, so
Was
maybe,
supporting the direction they were going. so.
right, so maybe a positive thing.
Okay.
Sounds like.
Thank you. I'm glad I received it.
So is this motion this motion is without the, add-on, right?
And do we not utilize that, or?
I don't believe so. And like I said, you would still be, if any of you said, you would like to attend something. Right now, we don't usually have board members saying like they want to go to Wichita to the KSB.
Okay, so that's only for board members. I didn't know if that was
No,
like
it's not for
training
us.
for Jenny or an admin.
I thought we looked at it before and it was like, if two people wanted to go, it was still gonna be cheaper to send two
Yes.
people than it was to pay for
Okay.
Yeah.
that price or
We
something
still
like that.
haven't,
You still have to pay.
we haven't been able to get to that amount.
Okay,
I move to approve the KASB membership and legal assistance for the 2025-2026 school year.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the KASB membership and legal assistance for the 25-26 school year. Is there any further discussion?
But
Yes.
Apple,
Yes.
Bose.
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Studeville,
yes.
and Tisdale,
Yes.
Goodman.
Yes.
Motion passed.
5.6, approve the USD 416 enrollment projection and non-resident enrollment report.
Okay, this is the second year that districts have been required by state law to do this process. And it is required that districts approve this before, as it says there on the top line, May 1st. As a district with our capacity, currently it's obviously every district has to do it, whether you're growing, whether you're at capacity, whether you're shrinking. So it is a requirement, but this document does help districts of all sizes see what the current numbers are and see what the capacity could be as well. So the first page, as Jenny has up, is what our current grade levels are, and our counts, in our building counts, and then our virtual kids and where they're at. So we have a second grader, 2 fourth graders, a sixth grader. So you can see, now we have more students taking virtual classes, but those would be considered blended students. And so if you're a student that's taken 5 classes at high school and 3 online, you would still be in that count that you see at the high school, no different than at the middle school as well. So those 17, those are full-time virtual students that are not taking any of our brick and mortar classes. Then you see our historical enrollment, so we're asked to keep a 5-year average running total on that with averages. And then at the bottom, it just shows you, plus or minus, which obviously the last 2 years are concerning, and we've made staffing and programming changes to adjust that. So last year we were down 1%. This year we're almost down 2% of enrollment. Kindergarten roundup we had, it doesn't look much better than what you see at the top. So I think we're about 84, 85 pre-enrolled. We know we'll get more. We have 5 teachers waiting for those kids, but for us to even start considering a 6, we'd have to get, into the hundreds. So I hope, we could get back to three digits, but that's going to be back-to-back classes under 100. You'd have to go back many, 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 many years in Louisburg to see that. And so, you hear a lot of potential reasons why. I mean, obviously I think families are having less kids as well, and or later in life as well. But I doubt we'll have 100 kindergartners when the dust settles, even with a few more trickling in. So if you know a 5-year-old out there that wants to go to Rockville, we would gladly take them as well. And so then the next page is just our district enrollment goals. And so when you look at the totals there in green on the bottom, they're run across with red. So Rockville has 8 classrooms in the pods. And so, and even Broadmoor, obviously Broadmoor used to be LEMS and has a lot of space if we close the classrooms. Obviously teachers at Broadmoor don't want us to close those, but we're able to do that. And so we've kind of, for our K-5, used what 8 classrooms would look like. And we kind of have targeted goals of around 20 in a class at kindergarten, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. So that's how those numbers go up from like 160 to 168 to 176. You're just adding kind of a kid per class. And so you can see those numbers and our capacity at those, and that'll be coming in another slide coming up. Then they ask us for many of the classes we just talked about, especially at the high school, how many students are in a lot of our career technical, but also in our core classes, they're on there too. You can see math, 469 and all, but if you were curious, how many kids are in welding, 98, local music, Allison has 149, so throughout. So that is just a good snapshot, and then a breakdown of grade levels on that as well. So we do have to update that grid for high school enrollment. And then the last slide you get into, and it's showing our enrollment projections. I honestly could lower kindergarten. I was hopeful we'd get 110. That I could say 100. We currently have 93 kindergartners. I'm hoping that we get 7 come in and we have 100. So all those are higher than what you saw on a previous slide, but that's important to do to make sure we have capacity, because this is important when an out-of-district, not an out-of-state, an out-of-district student applies, that we have the ability. So then you take that chart to the bottom chart in our capacities, and this shows you how many students we would be able to take at each grade level until we hit capacity. The closest one being that, even though I've inflated how many freshmen we'll probably have next year, we've kind of said, about 160 per grade level at the high school would make us a high school of 640. So that, we don't think we're going to have 150 freshmen coming in. In fact, Amy, do you know off the top what you're thinking with our freshmen plus VIA? Is it more like 135 or something? I think something like that. So,
One, with Leo's, little, hovering right around 140.
140. So see, so really you have space for 20 more, because the 140, I've already put 150 up top, and even at 150, it gives us 10 more. So we wouldn't even have a conversation unless we somehow got 20 more freshmen. And then even with that, you can, adjust this and have those conversations with families as well. But like I said, it does have to be approved and placed on our enrollment tab on our website. And then if you go down, then this is just the legal language that discusses from statute, the time frame, what eligible students have to do. We've always been an open enrollment district, and so this did not affect us as it did maybe some of our friends to the north that did have closed enrollment. We've always had parents and students fill out an out-of-district application. They still do this in this process. We had gears in place, levers in place that allowed us to tell a student they could no longer attend here. We still have those in place for our out-of-district students as well. So this would only really become a bigger issue if we start seeing the tide turn and we start growing where we get closer to those capacities. Any questions?
I move to approve the USD 416 enrollment projection and non-resident enrollment report as presented.
I second it.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the USD 416 enrollment projection and non-resident enrollment report as presented. Is there any further discussion?
But
Yes.
Apple,
Yes.
Bose,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Studeville,
Yes.
and Tisdale,
Yes.
Goodman.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay, final one, 5.7. Approve the Region J Hazard Mitigation Plan.
Okay, Mike Fleming, and yeah, you live right there. If you don't know him, that's his title. He's a Miami County Emergency Management Coordinator. Really got to know Mike, obviously, in 2020, 2021, when we were dealing with that fun situation we all had to deal with that we hope never happens again. Great guy, worked for the sheriff's office a long time. He contacted me last week, and you can read his ask there that in 2021, this board adopted the mitigation. He actually even put the same. Obviously, our resolutions are always dated, like tonight's resolution is today's date, so you can see when the board adopted that one. It was on July 12th of 2021. But Miami County is needing this from all agencies so they can continue to receive disaster assistance in the case that we need this. So you can see the last sentence, it has not, the substance of the plan hasn't changed. There are just requirements. So the school districts, the county, the cities, they're all being asked by his office to approve the resolution, and the resolution's on the second page. But I guess.
Yeah.
Yes, that, a lot of whereas, but we don't say that. You see right there, a little history, it says right there, the third one, the U.S. Congress passed the Disaster Mitigation Act of 2000. So it's been in place for 25 years. With FEMA and just disasters, and let's hope we never have to use it. We're in the county to be able to tap into some of those needed resources for an emergency.
I move to approve resolution number 4142025, adopting the Kansas Homeland Security Region J Hazard Mitigation Plan.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the resolution number 4142025, adopting the Kansas Homeland Security Region J Hazard Mitigation Plan. Is there any further discussion?
But
Yes.
Apple,
Yes.
Bose,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Studeville,
Yes.
and Tisdale,
Yes.
Goodman.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay, executive session. I move we go into executive session with the superintendent, assistant superintendent, and activities director to discuss an individual employee's performance pursuant to non-elected personnel exception under COMA to protect the privacy interest of an identifiable individual, and the open meeting will resume in the boardroom at 8:30.
That's fine.
8:30.
Second.
So moved and seconded to go into executive session. Is there any further discussion?
But
Yes.
Apple,
Yes.
Bose,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Studeville,
Yes.
and Tisdale,
Yes.
Goodman.
Yes.
Motion passes.
11.
I doubt it.
Yeah, no doubt.
So cold in here.
That's good.
I move we go back into executive session with the superintendent, assistant superintendent, and activities director to discuss an individual employee's performance pursuant to non-elected personnel exception under coma to protect the privacy interest of an identifiable individual, and the open meeting will resume in the boardroom at 9 p.m.
Second.
We moved and seconded to go back into executive session. Any further discussion?
Aye. Every activity.
lots of work tomorrow for the annual. Supposed to fast starting an hour ago, and I'm like, I didn't eat dinner yet, so.
I haven't eaten dinner yet either.
I didn't need an 18-hour fast, 20-hour fast, I needed 12.
Rob and Joanne coming in here.
No, bathroom is.
I guess we got enough.
Yeah.
I move we go back into executive session with the superintendent and assistant superintendent to discuss an individual employee's performance pursuant to non-elected personnel exception under COMA to protect the privacy interests of an identifiable individual, and the open meeting will resume in the boardroom at 9:30. So moved and seconded to go. It's been moved and seconded to go back into executive session. Is there any further discussion?
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Playing at night. GPS.
I'd like to get done too.
Before the rain.
Joe Aaron, I was gonna tell you like I tell my girl. Run shopping back.
If you need something, I bet I got it.
Okay, to throw these away, or do you need these back?
And that's public information.
So I think it's lost in the trash.
Oh, boy.
You just never know.
Yeah, what you might need, right?
Right here.
Did you elaborate?
Oh, yeah, do a recommendation. No.
And, yeah.
We
we
don't have to
decided
go
to
through
approve
tonight,
all.
do we?
I move to approve the personnel recommendations, resignations as presented in executive session. Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the personnel recommendations, resignations as presented in executive session. Is there any further discussion?
Foot,
Yes.
Apple,
Yes.
Bose.
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Studeville,
Yes.
and Tisdale.
Yes.
Goodman.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay, announcements, 7.1. There will be the school board tours on April 17th, 7:30 a.m. We'll start at LMS,
And, on
and there
that-
will be no business.
Yeah. There'll be no school business on that one. I mean, anyone's welcome to attend, but there'll be no school business taken during that, tour. We'll start for breakfast at the middle school, then have about an hour there, travel. I did have us travel into Broadmoor, but Cindy and Janelle want to switch that, so we'll go to Rockville, then the high school, week lunch at the high school, Broadmoor, and then come out here for Dave's little tour. So if all goes according to the schedule, time window 7:30 to 2-ish. So I know Joe Aaron cannot attend.
I was gonna ask you, I mean, I could probably be here by like noon. Do you think there's value in me coming at noon
That's
or
what I think.
just wait?
Was that Sarai or someone? You didn't even sleep, I think, if I recall. So
I drove.
yeah,
I'll only be here if it rains.
and it's supposed to.
I may be here in the morning only.
Okay. So just 7:30 for breakfast at the middle school, and then we're meeting tomorrow to kind of set that together. I've kind of just suggested to the principals, show us highlights, show us some concerns, some needs. I mean, I think that's kind of what you guys want to see. Take us into some classrooms, highlight both what's going well and what maybe you need some improvements on.
Where do you think you'll be at noon?
We're
The
gonna
high
eat
school.
lunch at 11:46.
Okay.
That's first lunch. And
You
then
can
we'll
text
be
me, I'll be there.
Going to
Okay.
Broadmoor.
Look at the short ones.
Okay, 7.
Oh, yeah, we riding the bus again? So,
Yeah, whatever you guys want.
It doesn't matter. Just-
I got it last year, and I didn't know if you guys like that.
I don't know, your driving would leave a lot to be
All
desired.
right, so you guys will just, we'll just follow each other.
okay.
Kidding you.
That's not true.
7.2, the next regular board meeting will be May 12th, 2025, at 6 p.m. here at Circle Grove. I have a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn our April 14th, 2025 meeting at 9:35 p.m.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to adjourn the April 4th, 2025 regular Board of Education meeting at 9:35. Is there any further discussion?
Foot,
Yes.
Apple,
Yes.
Bose.
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Studeville,
Yes.
Tisdale,
Yes.
Goodman.
Yes.
Motion passed.
All right,
Thank you.
Do you need the graduation stuff tonight?
Uh,